Good evening, welcome to the Standards Committee on the 19th of November 2025. I'm just running through the Chairman introduction. This is a meeting of the Council held in public. It is not a public meeting. There is no fire drill planned, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave by the exit nearest the large screen at the front of the room and proceed down the fire exit to the courtyard. Once it is safe to return, councillors will receive a text message. Officers will also advise when it is safe to return to the meeting. We are recording the meeting this evening using our webcasting system. The webcast will be transmitted live and will also be available on the council's website following the meeting. All mobile devices should be switched off or set to silent so that the meeting is not interrupted by ringtones. Thank you. Better check my phone quickly. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 1, which is apologies for absence. I haven't received any. Do we have any apologies for absence? No. Okay, thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations? Councillor Shields?
I have a declaration of interest, but the monitor officer knows about it.
Okay. So that is noted as an other interest. Thank you. Any further declarations of interest? Nope. Okay. Moving on to item number 3, which is the minutes of the previous meeting, which are on pages 5 to 10. I just want confirmation of the minutes of the meeting as accurate. I need a vote on that, don't I? So all those that are in attendance, please indicate. Are they accurate? And that's 2 in favour, and I'll abstain because I wasn't a member of the committee at that point. No, so that's carried. Okay, thank you. Item number 4, Local Government Association and Social Media Code. I'd like to hand over to the monitoring officer to bring this update. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So what I'm going to update on is 2 things. One is on the Local Government Association consultation, which ran from January to February this year, and it got 2,092 responses from across local government. They have now put out, the government has concluded the consultation and confirmed significant reforms will be forthcoming, and they're aimed at improving consistency, accountability and public confidence in councillor conduct. So what the criticisms of the current standards regime were inconsistent application across authorities, limited sanctions for serious misconduct, and processes were perceived as lengthy and ineffective. So the government position is that it's going to legislate to introduce a mandatory minimum code of conduct, and all local authorities will have to adopt a baseline to ensure uniform standards. They will require standards committee. I know we've got one, but some councils don't, and they want a degree of consistency there. They will grant suspension powers. Councils will then have the authority to suspend councillors for serious breaches of up to 6 months, including interim suspensions during investigations. So that will be a big change. They will be able to disqualify repeat offenders. So councillors who are suspended more than once within 5 years may face disqualification for 5 years. So again, very serious proposals. And they are planning to create a national appeals body, which will hear appeals against suspension decisions. So that will take it out of the local authority realm, so there'll be a degree of independence. And finally, they're going to enhance victim support. What that will mean for us is that we'll have to review our code of conduct to make sure it aligns with the mandatory code that's coming. We'll have to revise our standards committee, update our governance procedures to include the suspension powers, and obviously to then ensure training and awareness. This will all be achieved through legislation. We don't have the draft legislation yet, and we're not sure when that is forthcoming. So this was really to just update the committee on what's happening in terms of the standards regime. So has anyone got any questions on that?
Yeah, any questions, comments? Okay. Oh, Councillor Schrader?
Thank you, Chairman, and my apologies for my tardiness. So I missed the beginning of the officer's report, so I apologise for that. But I certainly do think that the standards regime needs more teeth, and particularly on social media, because I think at the moment it does feel a bit like a kind of renegade no man's land where anything goes, which of course is not the case, because you're still subject to defamation and all that stuff. But I think there's a lot of interactions that go on social media, born of particularly inexperience among members who perhaps are not familiar with social media. They didn't use it in their personal lives previously, and now they find themselves councillors and feel kind of obligated to use it. And I think there are a number of members who run the very real risk of getting themselves into difficulties because of the way they interact, not just with residents, but actually with each other. I think I would say with each other is far more problematic in my experience. So I certainly welcome the changes. Do we know roughly sort of timescales for when this is all likely to start appearing on the statute book?
We don't at the moment, Councillor Schrader, but we will keep the committee updated on that as soon as we've got further news. So the second item that I wanted to update you on moves rather well from Councillor Schrader's comments. We have spoken to the LGA about providing some social media training for members. We've got a proposal from them, and they would come in to talk about how social media can be used positively and effectively by members, information about the different platforms and examples of good practice, difference between corporate and political communications, safety online, how to respond to comments, and the links between the social media use and the code of conduct. In addition, the council is looking at, it has already a final draft for officers on social media use, so a policy for officers, and it is looking at a policy for members on social media use, and that would, with other councils, that is then linked to the Code of Conduct and published in the Constitution, so it would bring us in line with other councils. So that's the updates from me.
Okay, any further comments on the second section? Councillor Schrader?
Thank you, Chairman. Well, naturally, in light of what I just said, I do agree that is much needed, particularly in relation to the difference between councillors who are interacting on social media in a kind of corporate capacity as councillors and obviously their political activities, because I certainly think those two spheres are very, very regularly muddied. In respect of the training, I think training is always difficult when it comes to the council providing training to councillors. And I suppose what I would just make at this point is a sort of plea in aid, if you like, that I think what would be useful in terms of providing social media training to councillors would be a peer-led approach where the people giving the training are councillors who use social media, because I think that has the potential to be far more useful. I did a training course through Conservative Central Headquarters, So the person giving the training was a Conservative councillor who was using social media in their role as a councillor, and I thought that was actually really quite an intelligent approach, because it meant that that person, we could relate to them a bit more, because they were in our position and they weren't just spelling out the hazards, the obvious stuff, like, you know, if you're thinking of posting something, imagine yourself in a church and your grandmother is in the front row. Would you say what you're about to post? I found that a very good rule of thumb. But also the opportunities, because social media is a great tool for councillors. I don't know about other members in the room, but I certainly find it hugely useful. And I think it has made me a more effective councillor, being available through that medium. So I think it, certainly in this day and age, I would say it's a no-brainer. I think the public expect to be able to contact us through social media, and I think increasingly elected members who are not available through that medium stand out like a sore thumb. So I think it's important that some guidance is given on this, because it is a very useful tool, but it is full of bear traps. It is a double-edged sword, social media. But that, I suppose that's my only suggestion at this point, is that it would be good to get a peer-led approach where the people giving the training are elected members to whom we can relate to on that level, and who can give us examples of best practice, I suppose, in that sense. And I think you might get a bit more buy-in if people feel that it's not just some outside consultancy that's been paid to come in and give us advice, if we feel like we can actually relate to that person. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments, councillor. Yeah, I think we could do some social media training, and I look forward to that being provided and being made available in the future. Okay, if that being that, I'll move on to item number 5, which is the update on standards complaints. We have received an enclosure which is publicly available. However, I'm minded now to move into part 2 so that we can look in more depth at the complaints. So I'll bring that to a vote to consider excluding public and press from the meeting during consideration of the following item of business, on the grounds that it is likely that if members of the public or press were present during consideration of the item, that they would be disclosure to them of exempt information as defined by paragraph 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, and the public interest in maintaining this exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. All those in favour, please show. It's unanimous.